Hello and welcome back to the next episode of Kaleidoscope Podcast. And my guest speaker today is Graham Nichols, who I was reading something this morning about you, Graham, was is it 140,000 courses that have been purchased from you, or is it 140,000 people that you have impacted?
150,000 people.
People. And so you'll have people like me who've bought 4 or 5 courses. So the number of courses you have sold must be
Yeah,
huge.
it's it's approaching 300,000.
Wow. Well done, you. That's fantastic. To make
Thank
these
you.
courses accessible to people at a price they can afford to pay, and it's just thank you so much. Thank you so much. So that's how we
Thank you.
met, is
Appreciate
I stumbled across one of your courses and then did another one and another one and another. During it was I think it was
it.
just
Yep.
I think I actually started them just before COVID, and then it was them got me through COVID and got me into this new business. So thank you so much, my darling. Um,
No, you're very
but during your courses, you do tell us some of your stories about change, about transformation, about things that have happened in the past that have made you make the change to go on to do what you do now.
yeah.
And I know you've at least 3 stories like that. So I pass it over to you. The format, as we say before, is where were you before? What brought about the change and where are you now? What does the future hold? So I pass over to you and you can tell whichever story and I maybe interject with a wee question now and again, if that's all right.
Sure. Of course, it's fine. Yeah, absolutely. So, I decided when we were talking just before we started, and I decided that I would talk about what I'm currently going through because it's the most relevant to me at the moment. And while my past and the other stories I have to share, what I'm currently going through um, is a challenge that I'd expect to face, and it's a challenge that is making me change how I think, how I act, um, and and is truly testing my resilience, if I'm honest. So before to do the beforehand first, we're talking just before Christmas last year. Um, Busy times. My wife runs her own business. She runs a horse riding school and horse rescue centre. And I should mention that she does that mainly from home because she has a spinal injury. She had a car accident over 30 years ago now, which broke her neck and pretty much damaged every vertebrae in her spine. And she was able to carry on for many years, but around 2017-ish, no, sorry, 2019, the doctors had to take her off of one of her medications because they found that that it could cause heart damage if I went over long term, and she'd been on it 20 years at this point.
Wow.
So unfortunately, there was nothing to replace it. So this she basically became housebound because of it, because the pain, her mobility just dropped to the floor. The pain went up. But fortunately, we have an amazing daughter who took over the physical side of running the riding school. Paula went on to do the admin side, which isn't her favourite part, but she had to keep the business running. So since then, that's what she's done since 2019. And just before Christmas last year, 2023, she was really busy, as it is at Christmas. All the kids are off school. I was busy running my business, and Christmas is always a crazy time for us. Christmas Day is always a crazy time for us, but Boxing Day becomes our day. That's when we get to stop. Daughter Carrie Ann goes down to the horses and looks after them for the day. There's no lessons or anything. She just takes care of them. Last year, it didn't quite happen like that. So Carrie Ann off she went to the horses. Paula and I sat having breakfast around 8 o'clock, and at about 20 past 8 ish, Paula said, I've got a bit of pain in my chest. And literally a second later, she was howling in pain. And it's a sound that I would never ever want to hear again. It was I can't even describe. It's just a sound that you can only make if you're in that amount of pain. It's just a natural sound of pure terror and pain, and it was horrendous. Um, you kind of immediately know there's something, that she's having a heart attack or something. After knowing what those pills had done to her, that she got taken off in 2019, you immediately know okay, this is horrific. So I phoned the emergency services. They came very quickly, fortunately, and she got whisked off to Royal Papworth Hospital. Now, we have a hospital in Peterborough, but they bypassed that to go to Royal Papworth because Royal Papworth is a specialist heart and lung centre. Of course, on Boxing Day, you're thinking, well, there's nobody in. So they put out an emergency message to all the consultants, and the consultant on call came in. He put out a call to the all of the top heart consultants in the UK because it was that bad. Um, what would normally a procedure that she had to go through would normally take an hour took 4 hours. Um, I I followed the ambulance down there. I got sat in the waiting room, and after probably an hour, a nurse and a doctor came out to me and said, "Look, you need to know that, that what's going on isn't good. That when people have heart attacks, 1 in a million have this, if not, more. It's really, really bad." So they took me up to a private room, sat me there and said, "Look, we'll keep you as up to date as we need to, or as we can do, but obviously we need to get back there. You would normally get one consultant. You've actually got four consultants in with your wife, and you've got another six looking in online, advising." At that point, I had no idea if she would see the next day. Um, and I sat there in that private room for the next 3 hours, not knowing whether I was ever going to see my wife again. And it was horrendous, truly horrendous. That was the worst 3 hours of my life. I often used to say before that when I struggled with my own mental health 20 odd years ago, that was the worst time of my life. It's nothing in comparison to those 3 hours. And eventually the doors slid open and they wheeled her in on the bed, and there she was, still with us. And um, just, it's indescribable, the joy, yet the fear, and everything just washes over you. Um, I would go on to be told by the consultant that saved her life that if she'd arrived 10 minutes later, she wouldn't have made it. Paula would go on to be told that one of the OR nurses went up to speak to her and said, "I just came up to see you because we all can't believe you're still." When you were wheeled into the operating theatre, there was virtually nothing. There was hardly any blood pressure. There was virtually nothing as regards to heartbeat. We had no idea. We didn't think you were going to make it, and yet somehow she pulled through. Now, I absolutely put that down to the fact that Paula has this. She's always had this way of thinking about things as you never give up. And she's been through some terrible stuff. As I say, she broke her back and broke her neck and damaged her spine. Yet she never gave up. She's always run the business after that, and she's always had this never give up attitude. And I am convinced that that is written through every part of her DNA, and that saved her. That was part of what saved her life that day, because um, it just it was that horrific. And yet she also stayed awake during most of it. They couldn't believe she was awake and talking, even though there was virtually no heartbeat and virtually no blood pressure. But somehow she kept talking to them. So it was a true miracle of her, of the doctors, of all the consultants that looked in online, that took the time out of their Boxing Day, out of their Christmas celebrations. It was a true miracle that they saved her life. But of course, that's us. The story can't end there because of the horrific things that happened to her. But what we found out was it wasn't just a heart attack. She had something called a SCAD. Now, this isn't very widely known yet, but it's growing in knowledge. So, SCAD stands for spontaneous coronary artery dissection. Um, Believe it or not, it's 90% women who have SCADs, 10% male, and most people they have it's a dissection, so it's a tear in one of the arteries. Most people tear one of the arteries. Paula, of course, has to do everything properly, so she tore three. So she tore the aorta, which is the main artery to the heart. She tore a branch off the aorta, and she tore the something called the left anterior descending, which is also known as the widowmaker. Usually, if that's compromised, you don't come out of it. A normal, I say normal heart attack. I'm not, I'm not lowering the effect of a heart attack because they're bad enough. But a normal heart attack patient would go home after 5 to 7 days, is what they say. Paula was in there 6 weeks because she had another heart attack while she was in there. She had many complications. Obviously, all of her medication and all of her spinal injury just doesn't. So from Boxing Day, she came home on the 2nd of February. So that's how long she was in. So we didn't see January. I spent January driving an hour to the hospital and an hour back twice a day. Um, and there were still times that I didn't know whether she was coming home or not. Let's say 10 days after that happened, she had another heart attack. I had no idea if she was going to survive. But it was just a case of I can't leave her there on her own. Our daughter was obviously having to still, well, as much as she cut the business back a bit, she still had to look after the animals.
Yeah.
So she would go to work during the day. I would go down to see Paula at the visiting opened at 11. I'd stay there a couple of hours. I'd come home, try and rest or do something around the house or whatever. Then our daughter would come home and off we'd go again. And we did that for nearly 6 weeks straight, all of the time not really knowing what was going to happen. And then you get the news that she's coming home, and there's a relief there that she's going to be able to come home, but there's also fear because unfortunately with these scads they have the opportunity to happen again, and there's fear about what happens if it happens again. What if the ambulance doesn't make it in time? All of that kind of stuff. And you have to push that stuff aside and be grateful that she's coming home. But the problem is, people, and we've learned this since, people think because she's come home, she's better.
Mm.
And actually, she's not. She came home on the 2nd of February. We have a stair lift in the house because of her spine injury anyway. And we managed to get her off of the ambulance stretcher to the stair lift and up the stairs. And then I had to carry her to bed because she had literally nothing. She didn't have an ounce of strength in her body. It has been a slow, painful, frustrating, tiring process for both of us. And she's going through so much on a daily basis. About 3 weeks ago, she was just really, really poorly, and we were talking to the consultant about whether we should have an ambulance and she should be going back. So even that many months later, she's still in that place where it could happen again. We've been told she can't be left alone because if it happens again and there's nobody here, basically I will come back to find her gone. She will be. So we've had to completely change life, and we have a new normal. As we came out of COVID, that was the famous phrase, we have a new normal and all that. Well, we genuinely do have a new normal because life had to change yet again, and that's really, really tough. I had to give up some stuff that I was doing, so I was to network marketing and that sort of. So I went to a networking meeting every week, and I loved it, but that just went because Paula was the focus. And I was involved in a few other things with the charity and stuff, and that just had to go because Paula was the focus and remains the focus. And at times, it feels like everything's been stripped away from me. But then I have to remind myself that the most important thing hasn't been stripped away from me, and that's Paula. She is, I'm grateful for every moment we get together now. We're together now. And because I can't leave her during the day, then we are together for most of the time. Yes, I have to work and do that. She's now back to doing small bits of work, but she is 90 to 95% better. So she has, when she has a shower, that's her done for the rest of the day. She just has nothing else left. There are days where I need to walk her to the bathroom because she hasn't got the energy. On the other hand, there are days where she can come downstairs and sit downstairs with me for an hour and a half. But that's it. It's then back to bed because she has nothing. And that is now our life. And will it get any better than that? We honestly have no idea. Because this SCAD thing is new, it's only been really researched for the last couple of years. It's massively underfunded, and they genuinely don't know what causes it. They genuinely don't know why it's 90% female um, associated. That we're very lucky in the UK that we've got the leading consultant and in Leicester who is looking at worldwide, is the leading worldwide consultant on this particular phenomena. But even he doesn't know
Mm.
because Paula's was so horrific because she tore three of the arteries and and they called it a spiral tear. So normally it would just kind of rip open, but this was a spiral tear, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
Um, and that just made it so horrific. So he literally doesn't know what the future holds. He doesn't know if she will still be here in 5 months, let alone 5 years. He just can't tell us, and we don't. So therefore, so we've both had to adjust to this new norm. And there are times where you accept it, you get on with it, and life is just the new normal. And there are times where it is horrifically hard because it's tiring, it's exhausting, it's mentally and emotionally draining. And I think about it in the terms of Paula's the one that's going through this, but it is horrific to have to watch the person you love most in the world go through. It's horrific. And she's feeling really poorly and she has her bad days. And very often the pain comes overnight. So we have nights where we don't sleep or, get maybe an hour's sleep. And it's horrifically draining. And it's awful to watch. There's somebody you care the most about and to have to go through it and be able to do nothing about it. I, I'm a helper. For a living, I'm a helper. So I want to help in any way I can, but I can't. I literally can do nothing about it. So I think I've felt virtually 10 months, I felt virtually every emotion. I've gone through horror and tremendous fear. I've gone through gratitude that she's still alive, joy that she was coming home, but then terror when she got home and she had nothing left. I work daily to be grateful for the time we have together. Yet, like 3 weeks ago when she was really poorly, it's hard to describe the emotions. But the truth is that her way of working, her way of thinking, her drive to never give up has rubbed up on me over the 12 years we've been married. And you just can't give up. There is no point me going, oh, just give up, because then I don't care for Paula. And she is still the most important person. If I give up, she doesn't get the care she needs. So I can't. I have to get out of bed every day. I have to do what's needed for her. Her medication is incredible. Her medication starts at 7 o'clock, and we literally have medication at 7, 7:30, 8, 10, 12, 3, 5, 6, and 9. So that's how many medications she has during a day, or how many times she has medication. Many of those are more than one at a time. And it becomes a monotonous series of events because that's 7 days a week, 365 days. But the only way through it, and the only way I can get through it, is to be grateful that she's there and grateful that I get to spend as much time with her as I possibly can, that we eat all our meals together, that we wake up together, that we go to sleep together. And to never give up. That's the only way I can get through it, and it has built my resilience higher than I ever thought it would. And I thought my resilience was pretty good from some of the other stuff that, like everybody goes through stuff, we all do. And it's a choice then whether you get resilient to it and keep going through it, or whether you give up. And I thought my resilience was pretty high, but I tell you, the last 10 months, I've had to be more resilient than I ever imagined I ever would be in my life. Because yeah, there are days where it feels like I could give up. There are days where I just want to climb back into bed because I'm so tired. And yet I can't. Because if I don't do the stuff for Paula that she needs, she can't do it for herself. So you have to just say, I'm not giving up. I have to keep going. I have to keep focusing on her. Because the alternative, if I was sitting here talking to you now and I'd lost her on Boxing Day last year, this would be a horrendously different conversation. Because it doesn't even really bear thinking about, because I had to think about it on Boxing Day, and I didn't like what I saw for my life and my future without her. So it's not better worth thinking about again.
Yeah. So, Graham, is there no help with care packages or anything for somebody just to come in to do two of the medications to give you a break at all?
So you can pay for carers, because Paula still runs her own business. Then there's no free care available as far as that goes. There are the odd charities and stuff that could do that, but the truth is that we've been through so much together. We met 13 years ago, married 12 years ago, and we've been through a lot together as it is. And we're not about to not go through all of this together now.
Get
You
that, but
know,
I also get that when people are ill, the exhaustion can be because the last thing that you or Paula need is for you to become ill.
yeah, yeah. So the other thing that's become really important to me is doing the best I can to look after myself.
Joe,
Um,
good job.
I've always enjoyed walking in the mornings. So as much as for the first couple of months that she came home, leaving home was a horrific thought, even though she was asleep, and because usually I'm awake before her. But now we've got to this stage, I'm back to walking. I meditate every day because that's an important part of what I do. Um, I eat as well as I can. We eat healthily. We have to eat healthily for Paula anyway. So taking care of myself is important. Um, and on the times where on the times where she's not sleeping through the nights because she's in pain or something else is going on, then we just keep going through it, knowing that the better days. Um, but from a care point of view, it's not what we want, because I am physically, mentally, and emotionally able to do it. Then I see it as my job, my responsibility to her.
Yeah.
And she that's how she wants it as well. And let's be honest, when the person you love the most in the world wants something, that's generally what they get, because she's
Oh,
just going through so much.
absolutely, but it's that thing of uh who cares for the caregiver while the caregiver's giving care? And
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
my and but as long as you and you I mean, you teach all of us how to do this stuff. So I'm really pleased to hear that you're still doing the
Yeah,
gratitude, the meditation, the walk and so on and so forth as
yeah,
much and as best as you can to keep yourself
yeah,
a as good a place as you can be given the circumstances.
yeah. And there's a very good charity locally to us called Caring Together. So unfortunately, to add to what we're going through, in August, my dad passed away. So my mum's now on her own. Obviously, I can't get over to see her too much because I'm not allowed to leave Paula, and our daughter works a lot of hours to keep the horses going. So on the odd morning off that she gets, like on a Monday, I'll pop over there. But what it does mean is she spends a lot of time on her own. But there's a very good charity called Caring Together who, if she needs something and I can't get her, I can ring them, and if they've got somebody available, they will send. somebody to her. We've had to arrange all sorts of stuff like fall prevention and emergency necklace things so she can press a button if something happens, all of that kind of stuff. But that just adds a little bit of weight to what's going on as well. But caring together have been really, really
At least there's something there to
good.
help you out a bit. Um, and normally my thing is, what does the future hold? And you really don't know. This is take it hour by hour, day by day.
Yeah, I think it what happened changed my thinking in some respects. I've always enjoyed being mindful and thinking about the moment you're in, but I also, as a coach, know that the future is important and setting goals for the future is important, kind of stuff. But the truth is, I'd set lots of goals for this year. In kind of November, December last year, I'd set lots of goals for this year, and all of those got taken away because what happened, and they just, they weren't the focus. There was no point there being. Can I set goals for next year? I'm not so sure I can. I can keep doing the things I do. I can keep working on the courses that I provide. And I've got a couple of them that are planned for late this year, early next year. I can keep coaching the people I coach, which is a nice escape sometimes because coaching people and helping others is a nice escape for me. And it's rewarding, which is lovely. But can I set long-term goals for next year? I genuinely can't, which as a coach is really hard to consider because that's what life's about for a coach. Um, but the truth is I can't because no matter what goals I set, follow will always be the focus. So the goal is to get through every day and be grateful for every single moment we get together. And that's the goals that we have. Because the truth is, this time next year she might not be with us, but she might. There's, from what we understand, there's a slightly greater chance that she will be than she won't be. But nobody's ever been through what Paul is currently going through. Yes, they've been through scads. Other people have scads, and there are support groups and stuff like that. But nobody has ever been through what Paul is going through, with all her associated injuries and the medications and all of that kind of stuff. So we genuinely don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So, on a lighter note, and thank you so much for sharing that. One of the reasons I want to get a couple of meals on at least is because I think it's very important for men to talk about this stuff because it's usually genuinely very hard for men to talk about their feelings and going
Yeah,
through and even admitting that these things are hard. They stiff upper lip and being stoical and all that jazz. So thank you so much for being so open and honest about your feelings and about this period of your life. But on a lighter note, you and I are guest speakers next week, 22nd. You're the first
22nd.
speaker
I
up.
am. I am. Yep.
Are you looking forward to that?
I am very much so. It's a bit like the coaching. It's a nice release to be able to help people. And if that hour long talk, same as this, if me talking for an hour or 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is, helps one person there, then it's worth doing. And it's a nice release. And I did one last week, and realized that because of what's happened this year, I haven't spoken for that long over a consistent period of time. By the end of it, I was choking myself because I hadn't spoken that long. But it is just a nice release, just to be able to let my brain switch into that mode, that helping, teaching, training mode. And it's, there's a creativity that comes along with it. There's a joy that comes along with it.
Oh, I think the title is The Power of Coaching for Emotional Well-Being, and you're doing mental fitness.
Mental fitness, yeah.
Mental fitness, and you're on
Yeah.
the 22nd at 10 a.m.
Um, yes, 9:30, I think I'm on.
30.
Yeah.
That would make sense because I think I'm on at 11:30, 10. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're on the 22nd. You're first and I'm second.
Yeah. What are you covering?
I'm covering stress awareness with EFT tapping. So I kind of,
Nice.
for me, it's just about because you see George of the Jungle, and I always want to sing the song Boy George in the Jungle tapping. Or Pink. Pink does it on her concerts. She'll tap in
Yeah,
the middle
she
of a
does.
concert. So we see more people doing it, but people have no idea why they're doing it. And I like to take
Absolutely.
them back to their little amygdala in the middle of the brain that's on high alert and to kind of this is why we do this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Awesome. As you all know, it's a EFT and tapping is a very passionate thing for me as well. I do love that whole process.
So I'm looking forward to watching um you on the 22nd. Um, if you had to recommend a book or tell your younger self something, or you have a favorite phrase, which
Oh, wow.
I think one of those three, because you see, I don't have
Oh.
favorites, which is why I give people the choice of three. Because if you say to me, tell me your favorite book, I'm like, no.
Telling you my favorite book would be hard. Um, The Compassionate Mind by Paul Gilbert is a particular favorite of mine. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma is a particular favorite of mine, but I could sit here and list 100. So that's probably not the best one to choose. Something I'd tell my younger self. I always say this. The people come up with lists of stuff. They would tell their younger self if you know to. But the only thing I'd tell my younger self is keep going because everything that I've been through has made me the man I am today. And I like the man I am today. I'm quite happy and comfortable with the person I am. So just keep going. That's what I'd tell my younger self.
Yep.
It feels hard sometimes, but keep going. And as for a phrase, I try to live by the phrase of do the things that others are fearful to do, and you can have things that others never will.
Wow. Oh, I like that one.
So whenever I feel fear, I believe that that shows me that I'm on the right path. It doesn't tell
Right.
me to run away. So if I feel fear, I know that something's going right, so I keep going.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yes, because fear is just that thing of it's trying to keep us safe, and what's familiar is
Yeah,
safe, even when it's not safe, because it's
yeah.
familiar. It feels safe. So, wow, I really like that one. Thank you so much,
When
Graham.
fear, when people, oh, you're welcome.
We're going to say when people,
Yeah, I was going to say when fear happens, people tend to hear this alarm bell and they run away from it. And I prefer to think of fear as an alarm clock that wakes you up to tell you to keep going.
and I like that. Yeah, yeah. Just reframing,
Absolutely.
reframing and turning it around. Absolutely fantastic. Um, thank you very much for spending this time with us this morning. Thank you for being so open and honest. I really appreciate it.
No, thank
Um,
you.
I will see you on the 22nd. You'll probably not see me, but I'll see you.
You'll be
I'd
in
be
there somewhere.
I'd be lurking in the room somewhere watching you.
Yeah.
Um, I wish you, Paula and Carrie Ann, all the very, very, very best. I hope Paula's recovery continues on a great trajectory. With
Thank
your
you.
support, with Carrie Ann's support, I'm sure it will. Um, and take very good care of all of you. Have you still got dogs?
Yes, we've still got Charlie. Charlie's yeah, he's a big lad and he gets me up in the morning to keep me walking. So
Yeah, that's what I was
yeah,
thinking. Thank goodness for Charlie to get you to, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
And thank goodness for the horses for Carrie Ann to keep.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, when you have to, this is the beautiful thing about animals. When you have to keep doing that stuff, it really helps with the mental health, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
So I wish the three of you all the very best. And I hope, as I say, Paula's recovery continues in the right way. Might be slow, but slow and steady, as they say, wins the day.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Well,
very
thank you
much.
for your time. That's really appreciate you